Since the launch of the Lumix S1R Mark II, there's been a lot of different overheating tests and different examples on here on the internet as well. I wanted to throw my own 2 cents in and kind of share my own experience living in sunny San Diego, where it's 70 and sunny 24/7. Now, this is not a place that it is consistently hot all the time, but I did try to film all of these in real life examples and also just in normal environments that would be more common or typical in the everyday scenario and setting. So now, before diving into the actual test results and my own experience, I have experienced overheating symbol warning pop up on this camera multiple different times, anywhere from 4 minutes when I was on set all the way up to around 13 or 14 minutes being the common when the overheating symbol did pop up for me on different various times when I was on set and filming this. I was using the Auto 2, which is the default settings on the S1R Mark II, but in the studio, I tested a bunch of different things. So let's dive right in. Before getting into the results in the studio, let's just talk about the environment itself. It was around 72 degrees. The camera was entirely rigged up with a cage. I was running a V-mount in with a dummy battery. I was recording into an SD card. I had HDMI running out onto a monitor on the side. I had the XLR2 unit on top of the camera with a microphone plugged in to record 32-bit float audio. Dynamic range extension for all of my tests was off, but there might be different results on if it was on. Now, before getting started, all of the video files were completely fine when the camera did overheat, and had to say it needs to cool off. Everything was safe and I was able to recover all that footage and nothing was broken whatsoever. Granted, I will say it's worth recommending to not try to overheat your camera again and again and again, because that's not great for your SD cards, that's not great for the cameras, which I'll touch point towards the end of this video. So let's dive into sort of my first results. This was all on the fan settings turned to Auto 2, which are the default settings. And shooting in 6.4K OpenGate, the symbol for me popped up around the 24-minute and 9-second mark for the overheating symbol. And then the camera officially had to shut down and not be used. You still were able to use the camera for photo mode and different things like that, but for video, it stopped around 36 minutes and 14 seconds. Again, the fan was set to Auto 2 and everything else was left normal. Meanwhile, when I let the camera cool down to get back to room temperature, when I shot on 8K, the symbol for overheating popped up around 12 minutes and 30 seconds. This is just basically telling you, hey, your camera's hot, it's not overheated, it's just getting warm. Then I had to stop the recording around 55 minutes. I did a second test on the 8K, and again, no overheating. This is when I did a whole nother test, a separate day entirely to restart. I was able to record with an hour and 30 more minutes before I just had to stop. I was not able to get this camera to overheat for myself in the studio environments. When I was testing it, I was able to get over an hour plus, an hour and a half of record time when shooting in 8K with the fan settings turned to Auto 2. Now, this is where the interesting point comes into the video. This one setting basically almost allowed me to get unlimited recording to its fullest potential based on how I had the entire camera rigged up how I normally shoot. I changed the fan settings from Auto 2 to turning it to fast. Did a couple tests first. I started with the 6.4K OpenGate. I moved the screen in the entire camera rig and battery slightly off so it's not touching the camera to allow additional airflow for this camera. I was shooting at 6.4K OpenGate and I got up to 36 minutes and 6 seconds before the overheating symbol popped up to begin with. Then I recorded on 2 128 gigabyte SD cards for 55 minutes for a total of 110 minutes before I just had to move on. I did not get the camera to overheat in 6.4 OpenGate. Again, the dynamic range extension was off in these settings, so there's a bunch more variables that could be at play. I decided to try this again, but with the screen pushed to the camera, and this is when I was in 6.4K. The screen was pushed back, the fan was on high. The overheating symbol definitely popped up a lot sooner for me, which was interesting, but I did this test, I'm pretty sure, back to back, so it didn't let the camera fully cool down, which would be normal in a normal testing environment when you are on set. So the symbol did pop up for me for 11 minutes and 4 seconds when the overheating warning symbol popped up. But again, I recorded for another 50 minutes, then another 50 minutes, and the camera did not overheat on me whatsoever. Yes, the overheating symbol popped up at 11 minutes, but it wasn't overheating and making the camera need to shut down. Now, I did these entire tests again with the fan set to fast on 8K, and the symbol never popped up. I recorded for 55 minutes and time was running out, and I recorded for basically an hour at this point in 8K, and the overheating symbol for 8K, 24 frames a second, never popped up. Now, I did another test, and this time I decided how quickly can I make this camera overheat in this test. There was one caveat that, looking back, I wish I did slightly different, but I'll explain that towards the end of this video. So in this third and final test, I set the fans back to auto 2. I had the internal battery inside the camera. It was around 70 degrees or so in my studio. The HDMI had an out going out. There was a cage around it. It was running 32-bit flow audio. I had a CF Express Type B card instead of an SD card when I was recording, and I was able to get the camera to have the overheating symbol pop up around that 12 minutes and 20 seconds, and then the camera to overheat in 24 minutes and 10 seconds for the camera to be completely overheating in 6.4K OpenGate. So with all that said, I just want to preface, because I know people are going to comment, and if you're commenting, I'm going to put you on this timestamp before you make a comment. There is a ton more variables I personally would be interested in testing. For example, if I used a CF Express Type B card with the fan settings on fast versus auto, based on how my entire camera was rigged out, then do the exact same thing, but with the fan settings turned on fast, but within an internal battery with the CF Express Type B card. All of these tests in dynamic range extension turned on, all these tests with dynamic range extension turned off. Using a dummy battery versus an internal battery with the dynamic range extension turned on. There's so many more variables that I want to test, but my point being here is this video just takes a long time to film. Personally speaking, my goal is not to force this camera to overheat again and again. Unlike some creators who do receive the S1R Mark II to check out, make videos about, I don't use this camera for one video and then never use it again. I actually use the S1R Mark II as a workhorse camera to put it to its paces. I've used it on multiple different productions, multiple different commercials already. I've used it for multiple different things. I can't share all of that because it's client confidential and I can't obviously show all of that, but I have and do use this camera every single day. So I don't want to overheat my camera because I do have potential worries about when I overheat the camera. If I turn off and the close shutter, where it closes the shutter for you, is turned on, will that overheating or the camera being overheated break the shutter? Or forcing the camera to overheat again and again is probably not great for the internals of the camera. With all of that to say, kind of my conclusion to this, if you don't want your camera to basically overheat whatsoever with the Lumix S1R Mark II, just have the fan turned on fast and you're gonna be pretty good to go. There's definitely a noticeable noise that comes with when you turn on the fan to fast, but have you even noticed it? It's been on this entire time. The microphone is literally this far away from my camera where the fan is blowing, so there's that. I think you're probably gonna be good enough with the fan turned on fast. Yes, there might be more variables if you want dynamic range extension on, but at the same time, name another camera that's a mirrorless hybrid body that is able to shoot 8K for 2 hours. And there might be one. I could be completely oblivious to this, but my point being here, once you have the fan settings turned to fast, you're almost able to do so many more things with this camera and being able to push it way farther than other cameras in the similar price category and that can shoot 8K internally or OpenGate 6.4K with the full sensor. This camera turn the fan settings on to fast, and you're probably gonna be good to go. Anyways, if you guys have questions for me about my experience or testing, or you have the Lumix S1R Mark II and you've done your own overheating tests that are slightly different to mine with internal batteries, CF Express Type B cards, I'd love to hear your guys' results in the comments below. Let's just be nice, because I know the internet can be toxic. So just be nice to each other down there. I was gonna hop in. I'd love to hear your guys' own results. And if you have any questions, definitely just let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in seeing my initial overview of the Lumix S1R Mark II, check out that video right there. YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Until next one, guys, peace.